A shy daughter, too scared to dance, finds courage in a single hug from a stranger. And her billionaire father witnesses a moment that changes everything. It was a cool, quiet evening when the billionaire father decided to take his daughter out for a special dinner. He wanted it to be a night she would remember, a night where she could feel celebrated and loved. They'd been so busy with work, school, and other routines that real quality time together had become rare. The father, despite his busy life filled with board meetings, charity events, and trips around the world, wanted this evening to be about his daughter. He wanted her to feel happy and special, not just because it was her birthday, but because she deserved to feel important in a world that often demanded too much from her. The restaurant they chose was one of the finest in the city. It had shining chandeliers that reflected soft golden light across the marble floors, tall windows showing the twinkling city lights, and a quiet corner that felt private yet part of the lively atmosphere. The father loved fine dining, but he knew that what mattered more than the food or the luxury was his daughter's happiness. She was a shy girl, quiet and thoughtful, with a gentle personality. Crowds and attention had always made her nervous, so he carefully picked a restaurant that could feel both exciting and safe. As they walked in, hostess greeted them warmly and led them to a table by the side. Out from there, the daughter could see the entire restaurant without being in the middle of it. She clutched her father's hand lightly as they walked past the tables filled with people laughing, talking, and enjoying their meals. The sounds of silverware clinking, soft music playing from the live band, and cheerful voices filled the room. Her father noticed how she looked around, her eyes wide but cautious, taking in the lively scene with both curiosity and a hint of fear. The father smiled at her. He wanted to reassure her without making her feel embarrassed. "It's okay," he said softly. "We don't have to do anything you don't want. Just enjoy yourself." She nodded, a small smile appearing on her lips. He could tell that even though she appreciated the effort, she was feeling nervous. She had always been shy in public, careful not to draw too much attention to herself. But he also knew that she wanted to enjoy the evening, and he was determined to make it happen. They sat down at the table, and the waiter came by with menus. The father let his daughter choose first, encouraging her gently. She picked a dish quietly, glancing up at him to make sure it was okay. He smiled, nodding. He loved these small moments, the simple conversations that made her feel comfortable and involved. The waiter left, promising to bring their order soon. While they waited, the father looked around and noticed the live band setting up. The music was soft at first, with gentle piano and violin notes floating through the air. Gradually, the tempo picked up, and the energy in the room began to rise. Some people were already getting up to dance, moving gracefully with smiles on their faces. The daughter, however, shrank slightly in her chair, hugging herself with a nervous energy, wanted to be part of it, to laugh and dance like the others. But the fear of being watched or judged held her back. Her father saw this and felt a pang in his heart. He understood her fears because he had watched her struggle with them before. He didn't want to push her too hard. But he also wanted her to know that it was okay to take small steps, to experience joy in her own way. He reached over and lightly touched her hand. "If you want, you can just tap your foot with the music." "That's enough," he said. She looked up at him, eyes wide, and nodded. That small reassurance made her feel a little braver, though the nervousness was still there. As the band began to play a lively tune, the father sipped his drink and chatted with the staff. He wanted to make sure everything was perfect, that the atmosphere was welcoming, and that his daughter felt comfortable. But even as he focused on the details, he couldn't take his eyes off her. She was a delicate presence in the busy restaurant, holding herself quietly, but observing everything around her. He admired her for her sensitivity and her thoughtfulness, even if it sometimes made social situations hard for her. A few moments later, the waiter returned with their food. The daughter's eyes lit up at the presentation, and she smiled genuinely. For the first time that evening, started to eat, and the conversation flowed slowly, gently, with the father asking about school, her friends, and the little things in her life. He wanted to hear her thoughts, to show that he valued her opinions and feelings. She responded, her voice soft but clear, and he felt a warm pride in seeing her open up in her own way. Even with the food in front of her, she kept glancing at the band. The music was joyful, and she longed to move, to let go of her fear for just a moment. But something held her back, a mix of shyness and worry. Her father noticed this and quietly thought about how he could help her. He knew that sometimes a gentle presence, a kind gesture, or just a little encouragement could make all the difference. He resolved to let the moment unfold naturally without forcing her, because he knew that real confidence couldn't be pushed, had to grow in its own time. Minutes passed, and the energy in the restaurant increased. Some patrons had already joined the dance floor, twirling and laughing, their faces bright with joy. The daughter shifted in her seat, biting her lip, torn between wanting to join and wanting to stay safe in her small corner. Her father leaned slightly closer. "It's okay if you don't want to dance yet," he said. "You can just watch and enjoy. Or if you feel ready, we'll be right here with you." She nodded again, appreciating his patience and understanding. The father's attention drifted for a moment as he looked around the room. He noticed the staff moving gracefully between tables, the way they smiled and interacted with the guests, and how they made everyone feel welcome. Something in him stirred as he realized that the people who truly made a place special were not just the musicians or the decorations, but the human connections that happened quietly, unnoticed, yet deeply felt. He thought about his daughter and how much she valued kindness, patience, and genuine care. He hoped she would experience some of that tonight, even if it was just in small, fleeting moments. The daughter continued to watch the dancing with fascination. Her fingers tapped slightly on the table, matching the rhythm of the music. Her father noticed the small movements and smiled quietly. "So you're already moving to the music?" he whispered gently. She glanced at him, a tiny blush rising on her cheeks, and then looked back at the band. The energy in the room felt less intimidating now, just a little less overwhelming, because he was there with her, offering comfort and reassurance. As the evening continued, the father reflected on how rare these moments were. Life was always busy, filled with responsibilities, expectations, and demands. But tonight, he realized that the simple act of being present with his daughter, sharing a meal, and letting her experience joy in her own way was far more meaningful than any business deal, trip, or luxury. He wanted her to feel valued, not because of wealth or status, but because she was herself sensitive, kind, and thoughtful. He glanced at her again and noticed a subtle change. She was sitting a little straighter, her hands less tightly clenched, her eyes softer. The music played on, and though she still wasn't dancing, there was a quiet hope in her gaze. The father knew that the night was far from over, and that moments of courage and connection could appear unexpectedly. He wanted to be ready for those moments, to witness them, and to cherish them, as they continued eating and watching the lively scene around them. A small sense of anticipation grew in the father's heart. He had no idea exactly what would happen next, but he felt certain that this night could become something unforgettable for his daughter. Even the smallest act of kindness, encouragement, or shared laughter could transform a moment of fear into a memory of warmth and joy. And he was determined to let that happen naturally, without pressure, simply by being present, attentive, and supportive. By the time they finished the first course, the daughter was still shy, still careful, but there was a subtle lightness in her expression. Her father could see it, and it made him smile quietly to himself. He realized that the magic of the evening wasn't in the decorations, the food, or even the music kit, was in the moments of connection. The unspoken understanding between father and daughter, and the gentle unfolding of courage that came from feeling safe and loved. As part one of the evening came to a close, the father leaned back in his chair and let himself relax for a moment. He was filled with hope and quiet excitement. He knew that the night still held surprises, moments of joy, and perhaps even tears of happiness. And he was ready to witness it all, to support his daughter every step of the way, and to let the magic of the evening unfold naturally, beautifully, and memorably. The music in the restaurant grew livelier as more people began to join the dance floor. The daughter continued to watch from her chair, her fingers tapping lightly on the table, matching the rhythm without standing up. She wanted to move. She wanted to feel the freedom of dancing, but something inside her held her back. It wasn't that she didn't enjoy the music. She loved it. But the thought of being watched made her stomach twist with nervousness. Her father, sitting beside her, noticed her hesitation. He understood perfectly. He'd watched his daughter face shyness and fear many times before, and he knew how important it was for her to feel safe first. While the father quietly observed, a young waitress moved past their table carrying a tray of drinks. She was quick, efficient, and had a natural warmth that made people feel at ease. As she passed by, she noticed the daughter sitting alone, her body tense, her gaze fixed on the dancing crowd. Most people would have just kept walking, thinking. It was none of their business, but the waitress had a keen sense for noticing emotions. Something about the girl made her pause. She could see the fear, the longing, the desire to be part of the fun all at once. The waitress stopped for a moment, leaning slightly closer to the table as if by accident. "Hi there," she said gently, her voice soft and kind.
Right.
"Look like you're enjoying the music." The daughter's eyes flicked up nervously. She wasn't used to strangers speaking to her, and the attention made her shrink back slightly. But there was something about the waitress's tone, so warm and friendly, that didn't feel intimidating. She managed a small, shy smile. The father noticed the interaction and gave his daughter a reassuring nod. He didn't speak. He just let her know it was okay to respond. The daughter, feeling the encouragement from both the waitress and her father, found herself nodding slightly and saying, "It's nice. I like the music." Her voice was quiet but genuine, and the waitress smiled back, as if that small acknowledgement meant a lot. The waitress stayed a moment longer, sensing that the girl needed a gentle push rather than a bold invitation. "Sometimes it's fun to dance, even just a little," she said softly. "You don't have to go out there with everyone. Just a small step is enough." She tilted her head kindly, offering a warm and patient presence. The daughter's eyes widened slightly. No one had ever spoken to her about dancing in a way that felt safe, without pressure or judgment. Her heart beat a little faster, not with fear. With curiosity and hope, the father watched quietly, surprised and grateful. He could see that the waitress had a natural ability to connect with people, to make them feel comfortable in their own skin. He had seen staff before, but none had noticed his daughter in this way. He felt a quiet admiration for her. This wasn't about service. It was about genuine empathy. The daughter fidgeted in her seat, her fingers tracing the edge of the table. She wanted to say yes, to feel the music in her body, but the fear of standing up in front of everyone was still strong. The waitress seemed to understand without words. "You know," she said softly, leaning in just enough to make it personal, "you don't have to dance on the big floor. We can find a quiet corner. Just the two of us. No one else needs to see. You can just move a little to the rhythm." The daughter's eyes brightened, and a small smile appeared. The idea of dancing somewhere private, without the crowd watching, felt safe. It felt like a tiny doorway into something she had wanted for so long, freedom and joy in motion. She glanced at her father, unsure if it was okay, and he nodded gently. "It's your choice," he whispered. "If you feel ready, go ahead. If not, that's okay too." His calm reassurance gave her courage. With a deep breath, the daughter looked back at the waitress and said softly, "Okay, maybe just a little." The waitress's face lit up with a gentle smile. She reached out her hand in a careful, non-threatening way. "That's all I need. Just a little," she said warmly. The daughter took her hand tentatively, feeling a surprising sense of safety. The warmth in the waitress's grip was comforting. A silent promise that nothing bad would happen and that she would not be judged. The waitress guided her to a small, quiet corner near the band, away from the bustling dance floor. It wasn't private in a hidden way, but it was calm enough that the daughter felt shielded from the eyes of strangers. The music still flowed around them, gentle and uplifting, but here it didn't feel overwhelming. The daughter started to sway slightly, small movements at first, matching the rhythm she loved, but had been too afraid to express. The waitress followed her lead, not pushing, just moving gently beside her. showing by example how to enjoy the music without fear. The father watched from a short distance, a mixture of pride and relief washing over him. His daughter, usually so shy and withdrawn, was allowing herself to feel the music, to respond to joy in a small, personal way. He could see her shoulders relax slightly, the tension in her face softening. He realized that this was exactly what she needed, someone who understood her pace, who could guide her gently without forcing her. Minutes passed, and the daughter started moving a little more confidently. Her hands lifted slightly, her feet tapping in time, and she even swayed her body with the rhythm. Each tiny movement brought a spark of happiness, and the waitress smiled encouragingly, giving her just the right amount of support. It was as if the music was melting the fear away, one careful step at a time. The waitress said softly, "See, you're dancing, you're moving with the music, and it feels good, doesn't it?" The daughter nodded, a small laugh escaping her lips. Sound was light and freeing, and her father felt a lump in his throat. It was a moment he would never forget. Here was his daughter, slowly discovering courage and joy, guided by someone who genuinely cared. The connection between the daughter and the waitress grew in those minutes. It wasn't just about dancing. It was about trust, kindness, and understanding. The daughter began to realize that she didn't need to fear judgment, that it was okay to be herself, even in front of others. And the waitress's patient, warm presence made that realization possible. She didn't need grand gestures or speeches. A gentle hand, a soft voice, an encouragement that respected her pace. As the daughter continued to sway and tap, a few tears welled up in her eyes. Not from fear, but from relief and happiness. She had been holding back for so long, and finally someone had created a safe space for her to express herself. Her father, watching quietly, felt a deep gratitude toward the waitress. He realized that sometimes the most meaningful moments in life weren't bought with money or planned with precision. They happened because of simple human kindness and understanding. The waitress leaned in slightly and said softly, "You're doing amazing. Just feel the music. No one is judging you. You're safe." Those words, simple and genuine, had more impact than any instruction, any encouragement from a parent or teacher could have. They carried trust, care, and empathy. The daughter nodded, letting herself fully feel the moment, and her body relaxed. Even more, she began moving a little more freely, smiling shyly but genuinely as she connected with the music and the moment. Her father felt a wave of pride and emotion. He had wanted to make this night special, but he realized now that the true magic wasn't in the restaurant, the decorations, or the expensive meal. It was in this connection, in the care of another person, someone who could see and nurture his daughter's courage. He silently thanked the waitress for noticing, for being patient, and for helping his daughter experience joy in a way she had never felt before. Time seemed to slow in that quiet corner. The daughter, once tense and shy, was now moving gently. To the music, each step, small but significant. She felt seen, understood, and safe. She felt that it was okay to be herself, even in a world that sometimes felt overwhelming. The waitress continued to guide her gently, never forcing, never rushing, just offering patience and kindness that made all the difference. By the time the first song ended, the daughter was smiling fully, a lightness in her chest that had been missing before. The tears in her eyes were now soft, grateful tears, not tears of fear. She looked at the waitress and whispered a small, heartfelt thank you. The waitress smiled warmly and patted her hand. "You did it. You moved to the music. That's something to be proud of." The father joined them, his heart full, reached out and gently hugged his daughter, careful not to interrupt the moment. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "You were brave and you did it your way." The daughter hugged him back, her face bright with happiness, still holding on to the feeling of safety and trust that the waitress had given her. In that moment, the father understood something profound. Money, influence, and status could create comfort, but true transformation, real courage and joy came from empathy, kindness, and human connection. And tonight, in a quiet corner of a bustling restaurant, his daughter had experienced that. She had taken her first steps toward feeling free, guided by someone who cared without judgment, and he had witnessed it all. The daughter stood quietly in the small, calm corner, her hands still resting in the waitress's. For the first time that evening, she felt a sense of safety and comfort. The music from the live band continued to flow through the restaurant, soft and cheerful, but here it wasn't loud or overwhelming. She swayed slightly to the rhythm, letting her body respond in little movements, discovering a joy she hadn't felt in a long time. The waitress didn't rush her, didn't push her, just moved alongside her in quiet patience. The daughter glanced up, her eyes meeting the waitress's, and for a moment, the crowded restaurant seemed to disappear. It was as if they were alone. In a space where only trust and understanding existed, the father, sitting a few feet away, watched silently. He felt a mixture of pride, relief, and gratitude. His daughter, who usually avoided attention, was slowly opening up. He realized that this moment was not just about dancing it was about connection. The kind and patient attention of someone outside their family had allowed his daughter to feel safe enough to express herself. He could see the subtle shift in her posture, the way her shoulders relaxed, the way her fingers untangled from each other. She was starting to enjoy herself, not just observe, and it warmed his heart deeply. The waitress noticed the small signs too. She smiled gently and said, "You're doing really well. Just keep feeling the music. You don't have to do anything else. Just be yourself." Her voice was soft but confident, full of kindness that reached the daughter in a way no one else had that evening. The daughter nodded, trying to match her smile to the waitress's. It wasn't as easy. She had always been reserved, careful with her emotions, but the warmth in the waitress's eyes made her feel understood without judgment. Slowly, the daughter began to move a little more freely. Her arms lifted slightly, her feet tapped in rhythm with the music, and she let her body sway more naturally. Each movement brought a small burst of happiness, and with it, her nervousness began to melt away. The waitress stayed close, guiding her subtly but giving her space to explore her own comfort. It was a delicate balance, and the daughter responded with quiet trust. She felt like she had discovered a secret door, a place where it was safe to be herself and to enjoy simple joys without fear. The father couldn't help but feel emotional. He realized that all the money in the world, all the privileges he could give his daughter, could not have created this moment. What had created it was kindness, patience, and empathy. Someone had noticed her struggle and responded with genuine care, and it had opened a small window of courage in her heart. He knew that these were the moments that mattered most in life, moments when someone felt seen, valued, and supported. The daughter's eyes were wide, her movements still cautious but more confident than before. She looked at the waitress and asked softly, "Do you dance like this all the time?" Her voice was shy, almost hesitant but curious. The waitress laughed lightly, a warm, melodic sound. "Not always, but I love it. Dancing can be fun. When you let yourself enjoy it, you're doing beautifully, by the way." Her words were genuine, and they struck a chord in the daughter's heart. It was rare for anyone to praise her in a way that felt so kind and real. She felt herself relaxing even more, letting the joy of movement and music wash over her. The waitress guided her gently through a few small steps, showing how to sway, how to let the music move the body naturally. The daughter followed, and with each step, her confidence grew. She laughed softly at herself when she stumbled or lost the rhythm, and the waitress laughed with her, not at her, making her feel safe to make mistakes. The father, watching quietly, felt a sense of relief and admiration.
How this simple, human
Connection was changing his daughter's mood, helping her embrace a small courage that she had struggled to find on her own. As the song continued, the daughter's movements became more natural. Her swaying was smoother, her hands lifted more freely, and her smile grew brighter. She realized she was enjoying herself. The fear that had kept her frozen moments before was replaced by a gentle excitement. The waitress stayed beside her, offering support when needed but letting her take the lead. It was a delicate dance of encouragement and respect, and the daughter responded with trust. She felt understood in a way that was rare for her. It brought tears to her eyes. She didn't try to hide. The father noticed the tears forming, and his heart swelled. They weren't tears of fear or sadness, they were tears of relief, joy, and gratitude. He felt deeply grateful to the waitress for creating this space for his daughter, for noticing her need without judgment, and for allowing her to experience something beautiful and freeing. He wanted to say something to thank her, but he knew the moment was hers. He stayed silent, quietly witnessing the transformation. The daughter's movements became more expressive. She twirled slightly, letting the music guide her. She felt the rhythm in her chest, in her heart, and in her hands. Each step, each sway, was a small victory over her shyness, a tiny celebration of courage. The waitress smiled at her, encouraging her without words, and the daughter felt a surge of confidence she hadn't experienced before. She was beginning to believe in herself, even if just for this moment. After a few songs, the waitress noticed that the daughter was getting tired, but still glowing with joy. "You've done so well," she said softly. "How about we take a little break? You don't have to stop completely. Just relax for a moment." The daughter nodded, grateful for the pause. They stepped aside to a quieter spot near the corner of the room where the daughter could sit and catch her breath. The father moved closer, offering a reassuring smile. "You were amazing," he whispered. "I'm so proud of you." The daughter's eyes glistened with tears as she looked up at him, feeling both proud and grateful. The waitress crouched slightly to be at eye level with the daughter. "You know," she said gently, "it's not about being perfect or doing everything right. It's about enjoying the moment and trusting yourself. You did that beautifully tonight." The daughter blinked, her heart warming at the words. She had never heard someone express encouragement like that before. Most people only noticed mistakes or expected her to be shy and quiet, but the waitress saw her courage and celebrated it. That recognition made her feel strong, valued. And seen, the daughter let out a small laugh, the kind that comes from relief and happiness. I didn't think I could do it," she admitted softly. The waitress smiled warmly. "You did it, and you did it your way." The daughter felt a surge of pride. It wasn't just about dancing it was about discovering that she could face her fear, even in small ways, and find joy on the other side. The father, still watching quietly, felt a sense of deep admiration. He had always wanted to protect his daughter, to shield her from fear and disappointment. But he realized now that true growth came from experiences like this, moments where she could face her fears safely, guided by someone who understood her. He silently thanked the waitress once again for noticing, for being patient, and for helping his daughter take these small but meaningful steps. The waitress stayed with the daughter for a while longer, letting her enjoy the music and movement. At her own pace, she offered gentle guidance when needed, encouraged her quietly, and celebrated every small victory. The daughter's confidence grew with each passing moment, and she started to believe that she could face other challenges too. She realized that fear didn't have to control her life, that with patience, support, and trust, she could find courage in unexpected places. As the part of the evening unfolded, the daughter and waitress shared a deeper connection. It wasn't just about dancing anymore, it was about understanding, empathy, and trust. The daughter felt safe enough to let her emotions flow, to laugh, to move, and even to cry softly when the relief and joy overwhelmed her. The waitress stayed beside her the whole time, offering quiet comfort and reassurance, and the daughter knew she could rely on her in that moment. By the end of the evening's first set, the daughter was glowing with a sense of accomplishment. She had faced her fear, embraced the music, and allowed herself to feel joy and connection. The father stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I'm so proud of you," he said quietly. "You were brave, and you did it in your own way." The daughter leaned into him, still holding on to the feeling of safety and trust the waitress had created. Her smile was wide. Her eyes sparkled with happiness and gratitude. In that quiet corner of the bustling restaurant, a bond had formed. It was a bond built on kindness, patience, and understanding. The daughter had discovered courage she hadn't known she possessed, and the waitress had become a symbol of gentle support and empathy. The father witnessed it all, and knew that these were the moments that truly mattered in life, moments of growth, connection, and heartfelt joy that couldn't be bought or planned. Only nurtured with care and love, the daughter finally sat down, taking a deep breath and letting herself rest. Her body was tired from the movements, but her heart felt light and free. She looked at the waitress and whispered, "Thank you for helping me." The waitress smiled warmly and squeezed her hand gently. "You helped yourself," she said. The music in the restaurant had shifted slightly, becoming softer and slower. The lively energy of the earlier songs had faded into something gentler, something that invited reflection and connection rather than movement and excitement. The daughter, still in the quiet corner with the waitress, felt her heart beating in a new rhythm. She had moved, swayed, and allowed herself to enjoy the music. But now the slower pace brought a different kind of feeling, one that was deeper, more emotional. She realized just how much tension and fear she had been holding inside herself. Her small movements had gradually stopped. She stood still, absorbing the atmosphere. The waitress noticed her pause and leaned in slightly, her voice soft and comforting. "It's okay to stop for a moment," she said gently. "Just feel what you're feeling. You don't have to do anything else." The daughter's eyes welled up as she realized she was crying, tears she hadn't expected but felt necessary. These tears were not from fear. They were from relief, from feeling safe, from the sudden awareness that someone cared enough to notice her and support her without judgment. The daughter's father, watching from a short distance, felt a mixture of pride, awe, and a little sadness. Pride because his daughter was finding courage in herself. Awe because of the kindness and empathy shown by the waitress. And sadness because he wished he could protect her from every fear she had ever felt. Yet he knew this moment was important. It was a moment of growth, of trust, and of human connection that no amount of money or influence could replace. The daughter's tears began to fall more freely. The waitress noticed immediately and knelt slightly to be at eye level, creating a sense of closeness without pressure. She opened her arms gently. "It's okay," she said softly. "You don't have to hold it in. Let it out if you need to." The daughter hesitated for a moment, glancing at her father, who nodded reassuringly. With a deep breath, she stepped forward and allowed herself to be embraced by the waitress. The hug was simple, yet powerful. It was warm, comforting, and full of understanding. The daughter leaned in, resting her head against the waitress's shoulder, and let herself cry freely. She had been holding so much tension, fear, and uncertainty, and now she felt safe enough to release it. The waitress's embrace was steady, patient, and supportive. She didn't speak at first, just held the girl, letting her feel the safety and warmth of human connection. The father watched silently, feeling tears of his own prick at the corners of his eyes. He had never seen his daughter cry like this before. Not from sadness, but from the release of pent-up emotions and the recognition of genuine care. He felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward the waitress. She had noticed what he sometimes struggled to see: his daughter's quiet fear, her desire to participate, and her need for gentle encouragement. And in a single gesture, a hug, she had given his daughter something far more valuable than anything money could buy: comfort, understanding, and emotional validation. As the daughter held onto the waitress, her sobs slowly subsided. Lighter, freer, and more open than she had in a long time. The warmth of the hug made her feel safe and supported, and the soft, steady presence of the waitress gave her confidence that it was okay to express herself, to feel, and to be vulnerable. For the first time that evening, she allowed herself to simply exist in the moment, free from fear or hesitation. The waitress gently patted her back and spoke softly. "You're brave. You allowed yourself to feel, to move, and to trust. It's something very special." The daughter looked up, her eyes still glistening, and smiled faintly. She felt a warmth in her chest that was entirely new, a sense of being valued for who she was, not for what she did or how others saw her. She realized that this moment of connection was rare and precious, and she wanted to hold on to it. Her father stepped closer and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. "You faced your fear, and you let yourself feel joy. That's more important than anything else. Right. The daughter leaned slightly against him, feeling the support from both her father and the waitress. It was a rare and profound experience, being seen, understood, and valued by two people who genuinely cared about her well-being. The daughter's tears had stopped now, replaced by a soft, radiant smile. The waitress slowly released her, giving her space while maintaining a reassuring presence. "Whenever you need courage," the waitress said gently, "remember this feeling. You can carry it with you, even when you feel afraid." The daughter nodded, understanding the depth of the message. It wasn't just about this evening. It was about discovering that she could face challenges, express herself, and find support when she needed it. The father observed the exchange quietly. He was struck by the realization that true empathy and kindness could create profound change in a person's life. The waitress had done something remarkable. She had seen his daughter, understood her needs, and provided support in a way that allowed the girl to grow and feel confident. It reminded him that while wealth could offer comfort, it could never replace the power of genuine human connection. The daughter, still feeling the warmth of the hug, took a deep breath and looked around the restaurant. Everything seemed less intimidating now. The music, the lights, the people, it all felt manageable, even inviting. She realized that the fear that had once held her back was not gone, but it was smaller, less powerful. And she knew that she could face it because she had felt safety, trust, and care in a moment that mattered deeply. The waitress knelt slightly to offer a reassuring smile. "You did amazing," she said. "I'm proud of you, too." The daughters. Father nodded in agreement, feeling the weight of gratitude in his heart. He realized that this night would remain with him forever, not because of the luxurious setting, the fine food, or even the celebration, but because of the simple, heartfelt connection that had transformed a shy, nervous girl into a brave, joyful one. Even if only for a small part of the evening, the daughter wiped her eyes and laughed softly, a sound full of relief and happiness. "Thank you for everything," she whispered to the waitress. The waitress smiled, placing a gentle hand on the girl's arm. "You helped yourself," she said. "I was just here to guide you." The daughter nodded, understanding the truth in the words. The courage she felt had always been within her, had just needed the gentle push of understanding, patience, and kindness to surface. The father joined the two, feeling a deep sense of pride. He took a moment to observe his daughter, the waitress, in the quiet corner of the restaurant where a small miracle had unfolded. He realized that moments like this could change a life, even in subtle ways. His daughter had experienced courage, joy, and trust in a single gesture. And it was a lesson he would carry with him forever, that kindness and empathy could transform fear into confidence, uncertainty into joy, and hesitation into courage. The daughter looked at her father, and the waitress, her eyes shining with emotion. I feel happy," she said softly. "Really happy." The waitress nodded, smiling warmly. "That's wonderful," she said. "Always remember that you can feel this way even when things seem scary. You can always take small steps, and it will be okay." The daughter's smile grew wider, and for the first time in a long while, she believed it. Her father gently hugged her again, careful not to overwhelm the moment. "You were amazing tonight," he whispered. "And I'm grateful for her," he added, nodding toward the waitress. The daughter glanced between them, feeling the warmth and support radiating from both. It was a rare and beautiful moment, one that filled her heart with a sense of security and love. The waitress stayed nearby, giving them space but remaining present. She had done her part, guiding the daughter gently and offering kindness without expectation. The father knew that her presence had been transformative. His daughter had experienced empathy and support in a way that would stay with her forever, and he realized that the most meaningful moments in life weren't about grand gestures. They were about these small, heartfelt acts of understanding and care. The daughter's eyes sparkled with a new light. She felt strong, valued, and confident. The fear that had held her back earlier was still there, but it no longer controlled her. She had faced it, allowed herself to feel, and found joy and courage on the other side. The father felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, pride, and hope. This night, this connection, and this hug had given his daughter something far more precious than any gift or celebration could: a sense of self, courage, and the knowledge that she could be loved and supported for who she truly was. As the music continued in the background, the daughter sat down, taking a deep breath and letting herself rest. Her body was tired, but her heart felt full. She had faced her fear, embraced the moment, and allowed herself to feel deeply. The waitress gave her one last reassuring smile and gently patted her shoulder before stepping back to tend to other guests. The father stayed close, holding his daughter's hand and sharing the quiet joy of the moment. In that quiet corner of the bustling restaurant, a profound bond had been formed. It was a bond built on kindness, empathy, and genuine care. The daughter had discovered courage, joy, and trust. And the father had witnessed it all, understanding the true value of human connection. This was a night neither of them would forget, a night of emotion, growth, and love, centered around a simple, heartfelt hug that transformed fear into courage and hesitation into joy. The daughter sat quietly for a moment, letting herself breathe. After the emotional hug she had shared with the waitress, the tears had dried, and a gentle smile spread across her face. Her body still felt a little tired from the small movements and swaying, but her heart was light, almost as if a weight had been lifted. She glanced at her father, who was watching her with pride and warmth in his eyes, and then she looked around the quiet corner where she had felt safe and understood. The warmth of the moment lingered, making the bustling restaurant feel calm, almost magical. Her father reached over and gently squeezed her hand. "I'm so proud of you," he said softly. "You allowed yourself to feel, to face your fear, and to enjoy something you love. That takes courage." The daughter smiled, nodding slightly. She felt proud of herself in a way she hadn't before. It wasn't about performing in front of others or being perfect. It was about finding a moment of joy and courage within herself. And she knew she had accomplished something important. The waitress, seeing that the daughter had recovered a bit, returned briefly to check on her. "You've done so well," she said with a warm smile. "I'm proud of you too."
Hi.
The daughter's eyes lit up, and she smiled broadly, feeling recognized and valued. This simple exchange, a few kind words and genuine attention, meant more than any grand gesture ever could. She realized that courage didn't always need a big stage. It could start in quiet. Small moments where someone believed in her, encouraged her, and gave her space to grow. The father watched the interaction quietly, feeling grateful. He realized that no amount of wealth or luxury could give his daughter the confidence she had just discovered. It had come from empathy, patience, and human kindness. The waitress had noticed what he sometimes struggled to see: the subtle signs of fear, the desire to participate, and the longing for encouragement. And in a simple, heartfelt way, she had helped his daughter experience growth and joy. The father felt a deep respect for her and a quiet pride for the woman his daughter could learn from. As the night continued, the daughter began to relax more fully. She tapped her foot lightly to the music playing in the background, smiled at the other diners, and even laughed softly at a small joke her father made. The sense of fear and hesitation that had accompanied her since they arrived had diminished significantly. She felt lighter, freer, and more confident, as if the earlier moments of trust and kindness had unlocked a part of her that had been hidden for too long. The father encouraged her gently, suggesting that if she felt comfortable, she could take a few more steps of dancing on her own, even if just in the quiet corner. The daughter hesitated for a brief moment, glancing around, but then she smiled and nodded, let herself sway gently to the music, no longer worried about who was watching. The movements were small but significant. They symbolized her growing confidence and newfound courage. Her father's heart swelled with pride as he watched her reclaim a part of herself she had been too shy to express before. The waitress, Tuzing, this smiled quietly from a distance, proud of the small victories the daughter had achieved. She didn't need to intervene now. The girl had taken the lessons of patience, trust, and courage to heart. The father felt gratitude wash over him, not just for the waitress's help, but for the realization that sometimes the most important Lessons in life come from kindness and understanding rather than instruction or control. His daughter was learning something far more valuable than dancing. She was learning that she could trust herself, face her fears, and find joy in small steps. After a few minutes, the waitress approached again, just to check on them before attending. 2 other tables, she knelt slightly to meet the daughter's eye level and smiled. "Remember, you've got this," she said softly. "Even when things feel scary or overwhelming, you can take small steps, and it will be okay. You've done amazing tonight." The daughter nodded, feeling the truth in her words. She knew that the courage she had discovered tonight wasn't just temporary, it was something she could carry. With her beyond this restaurant, beyond this evening, into other parts of her life, her father looked on silently, reflecting on the lessons of the night. He realized that life was full of moments like this, small opportunities to grow, to connect, and to be brave. And sometimes, it wasn't his job to guide his daughter through everything. It was enough to create a safe space, offer support, and allow others who understood her to lend their kindness. He felt a profound gratitude for the waitress who had unknowingly given his daughter a gift that was far more meaningful than any physical present. The daughter took a deep breath, feeling a sense of calm and satisfaction. She had faced her fears, felt joy, and allowed herself to be vulnerable. She realized that she could experience moments of happiness even when the world felt intimidating. Her father noticed the sparkle in her eyes, a reflection of the courage she had gained. It was quiet, subtle, but undeniable. She had grown in ways that mattered, and he was proud beyond words. The father and daughter shared a few quiet moments together, talking softly about the evening, the music, and the small victories of courage. The daughter laughed lightly, more freely than she had all night, and the father responded with warmth and gentle amusement. These moments felt sacred, a quiet bond between them, strengthened by the shared experience of growth and understanding. They both knew that this night would be remembered, not for the luxurious setting or the fancy meal, but for the emotional journey they had shared. The waitress returned briefly once more, bringing their desserts. She placed the plate gently in front of the daughter and smiled. "For you," she said softly. "A little treat for someone who's been so brave tonight." The daughter's eyes widened in delight, and she looked at her father with a mixture of surprise and gratitude, smiled and nodded, silently acknowledging the significance of the gesture. The dessert was not important in itself, it was the recognition, the attention, and the kindness behind it that mattered. The daughter took a small bite, savoring the sweetness, and then looked up at the waitress. "Thank you," she whispered. "Really?" The waitress smiled warmly, giving her a gentle nod. "You're welcome," she said. "Just remember what you've learned tonight, how brave you can be, and how much you can trust yourself." The daughter's father felt a lump in his throat, knowing that the lesson his daughter had received tonight would stay with her for a long time. As the evening progressed, the daughter grew more relaxed and confident. She spoke softly to her father about what she had experienced, how she had felt before dancing, and how the small moments of support had made a huge difference. The father listened carefully, offering encouragement and validation. He realized that this conversation, this reflection, was just as important as the dancing and the hugs. By expressing her feelings and sharing her thoughts, the daughter was reinforcing the lessons she had learned and building her confidence even further. Father also reflected on his own role in the evening. He realized that being present, patient, and supportive had been crucial. He had not pushed his daughter or forced her to participate. Instead, he had given her the space to find courage at her own pace. And in doing so, he had allowed someone else, the waitress, to enter the story and provide guidance, empathy, and understanding. It was a reminder that, sometimes, the right people appearing at the right moment could make all the difference in life. The daughter continued to enjoy her dessert, her earlier fears replaced with a sense of joy and accomplishment. She knew that she had faced something challenging, and she had done it successfully. The father watched with pride, understanding that courage wasn't always dramatic or obvious. It could be quiet, subtle, and personal, but no less meaningful. His daughter had discovered a strength within herself, He was grateful that he had been able to witness it. As the evening came to a close, the father and daughter prepared to leave. They thanked the restaurant staff, including the waitress, whose presence had made all the difference. The daughter hugged the waitress one last time, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and connection. "Thank you for helping me," she whispered. The waitress smiled warmly. "You helped yourself," she said gently. "I just guided you. Remember this feeling." The daughter nodded, her heart full, knowing she would carry this memory with her forever. Walking out into the cool night air, the daughter felt a newfound sense of confidence. She held her father's hand tightly, feeling safe and supported. The earlier fear and hesitation had transformed into courage and joy. She realized that even small acts of kindness and understanding could change the way she viewed herself and her abilities. She felt empowered, ready to face challenges in her own way, grateful for the people who had guided her along the way. The father smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and gratitude. He knew that this night would remain with both of them forever, not for the dinner, the music, or the desserts, but for the connection, the courage, and the trust that had been built. He understood that the most important gifts in life weren't material. They were moments of love, empathy, and understanding that helped people grow. And tonight, his daughter had received one of the greatest gifts possible, the belief in herself and the knowledge that she could face her fears and find joy. As they drove home, the daughter leaned against her father, her mind replaying the evening. She thought about the music, the quiet corner, the supportive hug, and the gentle encouragement she had received. She realized that she could carry this feeling with her, a source of courage and comfort that would stay with her even in difficult moments. The father watched her silently, feeling proud and content. He knew that she had grown in ways that mattered deeply, and he was grateful for the simple human kindness that had made it possible. By the time they arrived home, the daughter felt calm, happy, and empowered. She hugged her father tightly before going to bed, feeling safe, valued, and loved. The lessons of the evening, the courage, the trust, and the empathy would remain with her forever. The father watched her settle down, smiling softly to himself. He knew that the night had been a turning point, a small but powerful step in helping his daughter understand her own strength and the value of kindness. The night ended quietly, the daughter sleeping peacefully and the father reflecting on the evening. He understood that true joy and growth came from love, empathy, and human connection. He was grateful for the waitress who had noticed his daughter, for the small moments of trust and encouragement, and for the courage his daughter had shown. The memory of that night, the music, the hug, the laughter, and the tears would stay with them forever. A reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could create the most profound change in a person's life.